Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper, the Harry Channel, and with me tonight are minions Sora Luna,
Good evening.
DrFunctional,
Hi.
and everybody else is late or blowing us off for freedom or something. How are you doing tonight, Functional?
I'm tired. I kind of feel like that song. I want to refer to it as like Cosby jazz because I'd be sitting there
Mm-hmm.
with the Joplin pop in a dad sweater, just enjoying the melody.
Yeah.
No other connotations.
Okay.
Well, I'm not. I mean, a lot of music has connotations. I'm not sure. See, music with negative connotations. No, not for me, man. That's I just wanted something. I wanted something that didn't sound like the typical canned music that everybody gets for free.
No,
Because
I like
even
it. It's like chill lounge jazz, which
yeah,
is just
Mhm.
perfect for starting.
yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that you can get if you're just willing to pay a few bucks a month. And I have it in the music library. And gosh, I've tried a bunch of different things, but I just can't find anything that I like as much as that. And as soon as I find something I like better, we'll switch to it.
Yeah, I'm not trying to harass you about changing the music. I like.
Oh
it.
no. You
Yeah,
probably
no,
just,
I'm a little on the tired side. Played a hefty few games of Warhamster today.
Mhm.
Warhammer, for those of you who are Warhamsters, that Warhammer with hamsters? Yes, I'm poking fun at both of the people on the panel because they both basically ask the same question. It's like, no,
I don't
what
know.
I tell Normans.
It's a disappointing answer, which is no.
I really
It's
wish there
not.
were like you could have hamsters and give them little like chain axes and pistols and
Oh my
have
god.
them fight
Do
it
you
out on the table.
remember? I don't know if this was something you would have watched, but like back in the 90s, like early 90s, there was a TV program it's like Hammy Hamster or something. It had like a guinea
Hamtaro?
pig and hamsters, and no, it was like live action. It was a Canadian show.
Oh, the
And they would
light.
talk, and the guinea pig was an inventor. Ah, crap. It's I can't remember. And there was like a
Tales of Rivenbark? Adventures on the Riverbank?
I don't know, maybe um
Yes!
Adventures on the Riverbank, is that one of them?
It's one of them. It's not one of the ones I think it is Hammy the Hamster. Yeah, where they have like little toy cars and they drive
Yeah,
around.
yeah, and there's always
Talks to the turtle, and the turtle's like, I don't know, Hammy. Wait, no,
Jesus.
that was what was that religious show with the dog? I don't know.
Davy and
Davy.
Goliath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Further Tales of the Riverbank, I guess. Hammy Hamster, Roderick the Rat, and GP the Guinea Pig. Yes.
I think they were all related, yeah.
Yes, because
Riverbank
it's
and Hammy
it's
the
in the
Hamster.
90s. This is the Further, yeah, Tales on the River of the Riverbank. Oh my god, I want that, but battle hamsters.
Yes.
It was Canada, so they probably had a commune or something, or some kind of farm. Where they made art glass and candles. I don't know, whatever it is that hamsters do
Maple
when
syrup?
they form a collective.
Syrup
Speaking
farms,
of...
we've got many of those maple trees.
That's true. So how are you today, Sora?
Oh, very good.
Good. Anything fun today? Any gratuitously expensive food?
Not today, but I did go on Thursday to have a tasting menu at this new place. That's like top restaurant sort of thing. And it was beyond amazing.
Mm.
Very good.
Yeah.
But the kind of portions, like, because it's tasting menu, right? It's like 11 courses. So you have like this tiny, like 1 or 2 mouthfuls per dish, which is what you want.
Mm-hmm.
God, it was good. It had everything, different types of fish, a little bit of pasta. Duck was their meat, so there was no. Did we have any? No, that's not true. They had Wagyu beef raw, so there was some beef. Yes, very good.
Awesome.
But yeah, I now want to go back, and that's not good.
You know, they have a lot of stuff like that in San Francisco. I just can't make myself go. It takes a lot to make me go to San Francisco, like needing a new passport. That's the level of stuff that makes me go to San Francisco. I just don't want to. I just don't. And they have fantastic places in San Francisco with things
Yes.
things like what you're describing. Like Ron Siegel, who on the the Japanese Iron Chef won Battle Lobster against Hiroyuki Sakai, and you can taste basically a sample, a tasting menu of the things that he made for his winning Iron Chef battle. I mean, this is one of those bucket list things for me. I totally want to do that. And he's just like one guy. San Francisco is full of people like that are amazing. And there's supposedly this great food scene in LA, and I even less want to go to LA.
I just remember the quality of fish was just superb in San Francisco because it's like right there.
Oh, yeah.
So we ate a lot of really good sashimi and food and different types of chowders and stuff.
Chowder.
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 Yes. Made it fancy.
It's my favorite episode of The Simpsons, honestly. Say it.
Say it, Frenchie.
Chowder. Chowder.
I'm gonna enjoy this.
Chowder.
Happy Freedom Day, Harry. America
Well,
Day.
it's
America
Freedom Day
Freedom Day.
Eve.
It's the weekend. It's all the same.
Yeah, it's good.
You kick it off right? What you up to today?
I had to actually work. Did a thing where I ended up that caused a few hundred machines to break, and they're not all the same. They're they're largely different from each other. So fixing them all was a major pain in the ass. But yeah, I've been racking up the work hours the last few days. But other people have been celebrating. Here, let me show you. Let me show you this. Look at this beautiful segue. So here's something that happened in Century City. This is down south.
Okay, embiggen yourself first. Hold on.
Oh, I always do this. It's like I'm so boomer adjacent. I just can't help myself.
Without being able to read the title, I'm guessing that this is a peaceful liberation of other people's property.
Yes, this is bread harvesting in Southern California.
Bread harvesting, right?
So, look at these people. Century City smash and grab.
Oh,
14 suspects
wow.
snatch and grab high-end merchandise from Westfield Mall. And
Holy.
so let's go to Nordstrom's. And then they're doing the feet do your stuff. This guy can't be motivated. And look, they've got cars waiting.
Because of course they do. Nice cars at that.
Yeah, that's how they're organized. God, I kind of hate California sometimes. I really do.
Just,
Harry,
come on, they're just flash mobbing.
Just
it's just a flash
putting
mob.
up with this
It's
crap.
fine.
Yeah.
I'm just so tired of it.
What were you gonna say, Sora?
They should put little things that when you walk through the metal, instead of the alarms going off, you know, the little security tag, it gives you a shock.
So like a RFID taser. So like if
Yeah.
you set off the RFID, it just
Yeah, it
shoots
shocks
bolts. Yeah, nice.
Can you imagine? Like they have like, I mean, it's just a small one, but you smash and grab like 10 purses all at once, and you run. It gives you just enough to knock you down, so someone can kick you in the head. Not that
Or
I
instead of
condone
those
violence.
little dye tags that you have to have removed at the counter when you buy stuff, they're like little canisters full of like halon or I don't know, monkeypox.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of right. Like, why not grabbing the TV? Well, you know what, Elwin? I guarantee you, those like
But they have
handbags and shit are like more expensive than TVs.
And less traceable.
It depends on what they grabbed. If they because it says high end, but they don't say what, right?
Well, it
So
was
there's a difference
Nordstrom's. So
yeah, but
everything in
Nordstrom
Needless...
I'm
has
assuming they're
everything.
grabbing like Gucci bags and
It's
whatever.
not Neiman Marcus. It's
It's not needless
Nordstrom.
markup. It's just Nordstrom's. But you know,
Yeah, so-
you can buy expensive stuff in Nordstrom's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That you
I've never
can,
even
but
set
it's the
foot.
difference. They sell on the same floor. They sell something like Longchamp, which I love, but it'll be like a foldable Longchamp bag versus an MCM backpack versus a Celine tote or something, right? So like depending on what they grab, you might get a couple hundred and you might get a couple of thousands, but
I know you
Yeah.
were just speaking English, but none of those words made sense to me.
Those
I'm
were
All
all
I'm saying is I'm
expensive,
not all that
expensive
impressed by
things.
their smash and grab. It would
Yeah.
have been more
Well, I mean-
impressive if it was Neiman Marcus. Okay, I have to tell you, they did something like this here. So they broke into, was it Prada or Gucci store? I can't remember. One of those stores, a standalone store, and obviously everyone is wearing masks because COVID, and
Mhm.
so the two guys ran in, sprayed bear spray, grabbed a bunch of stuff that was on the counters and ran. So of course, people are freaking out. You're calling the cops, the irritants, all that sort of stuff. Nobody's following them. And what did they do? They went around the side of the back alley into like the fire escape of a building to change their appearance, right?
Mhm.
Which happened to have a camera. So they took off their mask and everything. And so you have full face of the two individuals who perpetrated the theft, but they haven't been caught. But still, it doesn't matter. You've got their full face on camera. So they're not the smartest. Like, I don't know why you would take off all the masks. You could have kept it on, but it's funny sometimes.
I mean, like that. Since I have the
Exactly.
soundboard loaded.
Yeah, no one
Yeah.
claimed these people were intelligent.
Well, Southern California, it just surprises me. So this is also Southern California. In controversial vote, West Hollywood redirects funding from Los Angeles Sheriff's Department to other public safety programs. So this is West Hollywood.
What?
This is West Hollywood, and they have decided that they're basically going to get rid of 4 sheriff's deputies. It doesn't sound like a lot, but here's basically the plan. During the council's vote to restructure the city's budget on Monday, the measure was only narrowly approved. It passed without the support of West Hollywood Mayor Lauren Meister, who has been a vocal opponent of reducing the sheriff's presence in the city. The restructuring will leave West Hollywood with 4 fewer patrolling sheriff's deputies. 2 of those deputies will be removed in 6 months, the other 2 removed 6 months after that.
I demand you call them WeHo, because they are ho.
Well, it threw me off at first. I'm like, WeHo, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, well, as soon as you said West Hollywood, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The new budget reallocates the funds for those 4 deputies to block by block, which staffs unarmed, blue-shirted security ambassadors. And provides the city with supplemental law enforcement services. The money from the 4 sheriff's deputies is enough to hire 30 ambassadors.
How many of those ambassadors are going to die within the next 12 months? I'm going to say at least 12.
I don't really know that much about West Hollywood. I mean, I know it's got Hollywood in the name, so they're at least sort of money adjacent. But East Palo Alto is adjacent to Palo Alto. Palo Alto is a rich place. East Palo Alto is one of the more dangerous places it used to be one of the more dangerous places in the United States. A really bad place, really lots of crime, squalor, that sort of stuff. The only thing separating them is a freeway. You go to one side of the freeway, and it's all beautiful, several $million houses. Mark Zuckerberg's there smoking meats in the backyard, that kind of thing. And then you go on the other side of 101, and it's just bad, really bad.
Well, according to the statistics, West Hollywood is above the California average of 4.2 per 1,000 violent incidences at 5.76. So for every 1,000 people, about just under 6 people are assaulted violently in some way.
Yeah. So I wonder how these ambassadors are going to work. I can imagine what the pitch meeting was like. Well, these sheriff's deputies are expensive. And part of why they're expensive is because they probably don't have enough of them, so they're paying them a bunch of overtime. Because we've treated our police officers so well over the last 2 years in particular.
Yeah.
Let's just get rid of 4 of them and then hire, I guess we can call them blue shirts that are just going to go into the...
You also got to think, a lot of money and time goes
shirted.
into training someone like a sheriff's deputy.
Yeah, but what if these people know about
police
counseling?
training, counseling training, all these different types of training go into that one person. These people, they're probably going to get very minimal, just like de-escalation tactics, if anything. And then, do you really think that somebody that's that intent, like, let's take the people who were robbing that store. if one of these blue shirts were to even get in their way, I could see them getting attacked. This is just not going to work. There's a whole reason why the police have the equal deterrence of firearms and training in the firearms and hand-to-hand and all this other stuff, is so that they can, if something does escalate, they can end it right then and there. They can de-escalate by force immediately to reduce risk to the rest of the public at large. Again, this is theoretically how policing is supposed to happen. I don't know.
Well, I've spoken with somebody who, somewhat at length. She's basically the wife of a guy I know, and this is 2-3 years ago. And she actually does a lot of police training in California. And she's very good at de-escalation stuff. And according to what she's told me, this is me talking to somebody who actually does this training, just about the most dangerous situation you can go into is a domestic violence call. Domestic disturbance calls, because you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if it's going to be nothing burger or if there's going to be somebody who's just off their tits on drugs. Or anything in between. The possibility that some random idiot's going to come out with a knife and come at you is just high. And it's close. You're in closed quarters. It's somebody's house. There's some idiot with a wife beater, and then there's some stupid woman screaming and kids. And it's just terrible. It's just terrible.
At the very best, emotions are running high.
Yeah, and I don't
not just adrenaline of like somebody out in public doing stuff, but when you're domestic disturbance like that, emotions are already spiking. So yeah, if you don't know what you're walking into, the emotions are already running high on that end. Oh man.
Yeah, I don't think you can accurately tell from the 911 call what kind of situation you're sending people into, whether you send the sheriff's deputies or the blue shirts. That's my concern. But hey, if the WeHos want to try this out and be like a little incubator, great. And if it works out, well, I mean, I hope it works out well. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it's just the best idea that ever was. But even if it works in WeHo, I'm not sure it's actually going to work in other places. I don't know if Baltimore would be a great place to try this out.
Chicago.
Chicago.
Oh God.
I think these types of things only really work when there's like that serious community involvement, like we had with the fathers going into those high schools.
Yeah.
Predominantly black men trying to de-escalate the life path of some of these at-risk black male youth, and seeing dramatic upticks in grades, in attendance, in keeping that course of being a productive member of society versus becoming a lifetime criminal. So there seems to be that disconnect with. I don't know these people. I don't know who these 30 ambassadors are going to be. If they are going to be caring people of the community or just people looking for a paycheck, obviously that goes the same for police and anything else. So we can hope for the best in that they actually do care. They actually do want to engage people that may be entertaining criminal endeavors or in the middle of trying to pull one off and just de-escalate and go like, dude, it's not worth it. The cops are going to be on your tail in 2 minutes. Drop the stuff, go home, rethink your life. Boom, de-escalate it. So like we can hope for those kinds of things, definitely.
Yep.
What they do here, they're trying to reduce the kind of stranger crime downtown, and especially during like on the weekend, so Friday night to Sunday night, right, during the clubbing times. So they got rid of them obviously during COVID, but they're going to slowly start bring them back. Is people are volunteering. They get trained a little bit, but it's mostly volunteering. So they are told you kind of run the risk of your own safety, but they go in walking groups of 3 and they escort people. So if you're not feeling safe, even if you're in a group of people, you can go up to them, say, hi, can you please escort me to a cab or call a cab for me or whatever. And this shows that it's a dramatic decrease in some opportunistic crime, but that's only while it's still new, because I bet you once people get comfortable with having these people roaming around downtown again, it's not going to matter. But at least it's something, I suppose.
I still wouldn't trade, for
Oh no, fuck that. No, you need
for
cops.
cops,
You
for
don't need
especially
this is
sheriff's deputies.
civilian.
We're not talking just
Yeah.
regular, local police forces. These are sheriff's deputies. They're
trained with experience, I hope.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I think this is silly. It might work in a small town, like you were talking about, like the community feel. I can see that working in a little bit of a smaller town, but for a city with the population numbers, I don't know. I think
something's got to be done though, because like you said, in these cities, it's that's where the concentration of these problems are. It's cultural. There's certain contributing factors, and we need to find some way to try to get some of these people off the path that they're on, to reduce the amount that people have to worry that they're gonna, walk outside their house and get punched in the back of the head.
Yeah. Well, I think we need to move on to the next topic here, which is it's kind of a doozy. So I have 3 articles here that broadly fall under the idea of social media, an asset or a liability, and it's generally along the lines of how you can sort of take something that you probably agree with and something you may agree with, something you may disagree with, and come at them using sort of the same set of tools, but to very different results. Okay. So there's this thing, the new governor, the one who replaced Guido. What was his name? Fredo
Baggins.
Who the hell was the governor? The touchy-feely one that worked out all the time.
Oh my God.
Cuomo. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Hochul is was a deputy governor, and she is now governor. So she signs a bill in New York requiring social media history to obtain a gun carry permit. So people who don't want you to have be able to carry a gun are going to look at your social media history.
Oh, look, he made a post that said he wants to be able to...
Hold on. I want to give you 3 things at once, okay?
Okay.
So just so you can think about this this is an aspect. So here you're using social media to decide who gets to have a gun and who doesn't. Now, as far as the abortion ruling has been going, in a number of states like Texas, they are the more assertive elements of the anti-abortion crowd there are trying to find ways to make sure, or at least deter people from leaving the state to go obtain an abortion. Right? So you end up with things like these articles. Should you really delete your period tracking app? Security and privacy tips for people seeking an abortion. Pass My Body, My Data Act. What companies can do now to protect digital rights in the post-Roe world. There are a bunch of articles along these lines, right? Okay, so in this case, you're actually trying to sanitize your social media because you don't want it to lead a trail of breadcrumbs that somebody in Texas using where you basically narc on people to get them prosecuted. They're using that mechanism of basically saying, oh, I know somebody who she was looking like she had a bit of a baby bump, and then she disappeared and came back and was drinking margaritas. You should probably check her for chemicals and stuff, and check her phone to see who she was sending messages to. And then you've got this thing here, which is a new Texas abortion law. This thing basically says you can't aid and abet, but it extends to speech regarding like abortion options. So taken at its most extreme, this Texas law could be used to prosecute somebody who online gave a woman advice. Whether or not it ended up in an abortion or not, they could end up going after them. So this is a real free speech thing. So we've got these 3 articles. All of it centers around the law and social media. So I'm just kind of throwing this at you. What do you think, Functional? How do you feel about this brave new world that we've stumbled into?
I mean, there are aspects of it that obviously I like because I've been a proponent of digital rights for a long time now. I like the idea of an absolute guarantee of freedom of speech, even though in my country I don't necessarily have one. I like that part of the American Constitution a lot. The thing that worries me about the most about the first one, the guns thing, is I know exactly how they're going to use it. Oh, he just made a post that I don't like. He's very pro 2A. That means he's violent. Oh, you want to get a gun? Well, you said on this social media post was flagged because you said you liked guns. Now you can't get a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And I see the pendulum going, the shift going the other direction, surrounding places like some of these Texas bills that are trying to be pushed, or these and some of the surrounding ideas. It's just like, dude, you guys are such hypocrites. You're acting exactly like the people and the policies that you just had victories over. Stop it. Be the better people. Don't swing it all the way. I think, you know, there's a reasonable middle ground that we found back in the 80s. You know, the colloquial safe, legal, and rare. And I think that the majority of people, left, right, middle, doesn't matter, are okay with that. Some might not entirely approve, and it might not mean that they would ever pursue that, but they aren't necessarily waking up to news of, oh yeah, well we'll deliver the baby, we'll, you know, put them in the next room, we'll make sure they're comfortable, and then we'll talk to the mother on whether or not, and this is me filling in the rest, until we decide we want to kill this baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, that's going the full extreme on one end, and then this way, if it's 100% illegal, no matter what, you're persecuting the woman, the doctor, anybody who knew about it. Like, you're coming full circle back to the whole 1984 notion of just like nothing is safe, nothing is personal or sacred to the person anymore.
And there's the finger pointing. There's the whole be a good citizen. And if you think somebody is hiding an abortion or planning an abortion, you know, if you see something, say something. And I'm really not comfortable with this whole idea of sort of weaponizing groups of people, young people especially, because you know they're going to give this to them in the schools. Yeah. To have them go around and narc on their neighbors. I'm sorry.
When you're using the law and government and policies to enact something that we pretty much had a really good control on, the social credit score, air quotes there, sort of system, public shaming, we had people were kind of kept in check with that. We didn't need laws in place to allow or to ban people from being called out on bad behavior.
Yeah, what happens if you don't use any social media? You mean, like... Well, it's sort of like how I don't own any guns because they were all lost in a tragic fishing accident.
Yeah.
I don't use social media. I don't know.
Well, I wonder if that's going to be like your insurance score. Like, is not having any social media going to be worse than having neutral?
People will just have one account that's public and one. They'll just have one account that's public and one shitposting account. That's the other thing, all that's going to happen.
The last thing I want to touch on is the states' rights issue. I think one of the most important things about your country is states' rights, because you are a union of states. United States of America says right there in the name, clear as day, people, that you know what, if somebody is in the situation where they're past the, let's call it a 12-week cutoff point, and they need to go the next state over to get that procedure done, I don't think that the other state should have any right to do it.
Yeah,
to prosecute, because if I live in Texas, I go to Oklahoma, I kill somebody, I go back to Texas, it's not the Texas cops that are really going to, yes, they can intervene on their behalf, but they're not really the types to pursue that. You know what I mean? They're not going to be coming after me because I killed someone in Oklahoma. If the Oklahoma police says, oh, hey, we have this person living at this address, blah, 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 we need you to detain them so we can come pick them up, they're wanted for murder, then yeah, they'll do that, but they're not going to be like investigating sort of thing.
So how do you feel about this brave new digital world where the government is keenly interested in everything you do online to determine whether you've broken the law, Sora?
No, it's pretty bad.
I think it's pretty terrible.
This whole the ones that got me, like, okay, you need to. What I would be interested in for the gun article, that they're going to do a background check on you. Like, they're going to check your social media. Are they going to make you log into your social media? Because there's a lot of, like, I mean, I haven't been on Facebook in like a decade, less than that. But, like, years enough to know that I have no idea what their new security features are. Like, can you make it fully private? Is just so your name? What can you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But same thing with like Instagram, for example. You can lock it down so only people that you allow to see your stuff can see your stuff. Like, if you want to have it just for friends only and all that sort of stuff, okay. Are they going to make you log in into your app so they can see every single photo or post or tweet or whatever it is? Because at that point it's like, well, don't you need some sort of warrant for that? Or are they going to make it so that any place, so we're talking about pawn shop, Walmart, wherever places you guys sell guns in the States, like sporting goods stores, that kind of stuff, are
Private
they now
retailers,
any like clerk that works, like minimum wage person that works behind the counter, is now going to have the same power as a cop with a warrant to search your social media? Like, that seems like such an overreach, and maybe I'm being hyperbolic, but that's what it feels like. I want to know, how is that going to show up? Like, give me a map for that. And then in terms of the other ones, in terms of the health apps, that the people talking about, like, oh, should you keep tracking using your health app? Can you do that? That is very creepy.
Yeah.
But as Ellen puts, they already track your phone, and to an extent, because every time you download anything from, I have an Apple, so from the App Store, it tells you what data is going to be shared, from this app, from your phone to the app to wherever. And even if sometimes some apps will say, oh, would you like to opt in for what did they say, optimization by sending more information? You can say no, but I don't ever trust that me saying no is actually a no. I don't think no means no with them. But yeah.
Yeah, so you've got some app on your phone. So in this brave new world,
let's do the lady example, because that
the lady example.
Say.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've got, like, I use Clue, for example. It's one of the many apps that you can track. You can track ovulation. You can track everything on there. If you're pregnant, you can track your pregnancy. You can do everything on there.
Are you pregnant, Sora?
No.
She's got an app. It says no.
Okay. As
The
long
app
as the app
says
is
no.
She's just trying to get that sweet Canadian time off for all the female things.
But, like, the regular health app on the Apple Health thing, you can do the same thing on there. You don't need a separate app, but it depends on the interface you like, right? So basically, that's already out there, that information. Technically, you're supposed to be a randomized number, right? But are they going to suddenly say that, oh, hey, we're no longer going to use you as a randomized number. We're going to fully connect your IP, your name, your billing, because you have to sign in as under your Apple ID, right? All that information is going to be 100% now connected to the name you add in. And let's just say you're one of those people who are not going to go through the rigmarole of using a fake phone, a fake name, a fake everything set up because you want to be that sure. Say you're a regular person who just doesn't care, you plug and go. So you have all of this information, and they're going to say, well, because Apple is technically an American company, doesn't matter where in the world that you're using their products, the servers are all going to say will be based in the States. So we're going to follow the law of America. And America says, well, we can use all your information. So the moment you step foot in the States, if you decide, whoopsie daisy, something's happening, for some reason you're dumb enough to want to go have an abortion in the States, they're going to arrest you, right? Like, it becomes this whole, I've seen a lot of dystopian sci-fi dark mirror type crap to feel like this isn't far off from reality. It's easy. I can see it. It's easy to do. Like, you just,
yeah, it's not hard to find the dystopian aspect of this.
Yeah,
it's weird. I don't like it.
Well,
but the thing is that can I delete? Yeah, sure, I can delete that, and then you just use a regular calendar.
And it
Paper
seems
and
like
pen.
You get like a pen and you can write it down.
What we used to do before that, right?
Or you
Before
can just,
app.
or you can just wake up and go, surprise! No.
Oh man.
shit,
the
I'm
best- the
having
best
contractions. But you're not even pregnant. Oh. To your points, Sora, like it's even been a bit of a gray area for companies like Apple and Facebook and Google and all these to hand over private information of their client base and users when a crime was committed. So this is even going a step further and like circumventing law enforcement and saying now private companies, private individuals can now have access to like sort of your social media history in some manner.
And they didn't even
like,
have to pay for it.
Yeah.
You're paying them.
When you had the
You
when you
are
had the
paying
walk
them to give you this information.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right
When you
now,
had
over
something
in
like
the outrage part of Twitter, the thing that's floating around. This is how the outrage part of Twitter works. It's all sort of anecdotal, right? There's no proof of anything. It's just like a person on the Twitter said a thing about a thing. So take this. So the thing that's going around in outrage Twitter, because I talked to some more liberal people today, is that things like methotrexate in low doses, it's actually used to treat autoimmune diseases. It's not medical advice. It's just what it says in the PDR. So there are people who've been taking this at low doses for all kinds of things, like uveitis and a number of different conditions. It's used by people with lupus and things like that.
But it's never lupus.
And it's fairly benign in terms of its side effects at low doses, even though it was originally a chemo drug. Well, they're being told, allegedly, by their doctors that because of these abortion laws, because it's also can cause abortions, spontaneous abortions, that they can't refill their prescriptions after this. And it's just like, oh, come on. Just come on and just stop.
We need common sense wire hanger control now.
You cannot stop people from leaving the state. You cannot stop people from finding ways around this. All you can do is basically slow them down long enough that they maybe get a chance to think about what they're going to do, and they don't view it as just being like an easy way of family planning, in quotes.
Yeah.
And I don't want the government to have the power to just start grabbing people's phones and going through their message histories casually because they think somebody put on a few pounds. Sorry, Sora, go ahead.
No, I was gonna make a flip thing. Are they gonna do the whole Ellen DeGeneres thing when she had Mariah Carey on and try to force her to drink alcohol to prove that she's pregnant? Because that's the next thing. It's like, okay, if you have to prove that you're not, so guzzle a liter of booze and see.
Take
Before you
this tablespoon of
cross state lines.
thalidomide.
Yeah, you're not the boss of me is the next word that would be coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
All right, we got to move on. We've got tons of stuff here. So this
Well,
is a thing
the
that happened.
babies.
Supreme Court limits EPA authority to set climate standards for power plants. More importantly, the Supreme Court ruled that these large government bureaucracies that are in the executive branch don't get to just do whatever the hell they want in terms of enacting laws that affects people's lives. They can't just make up laws on their own as like a bunch of dictators. I personally think that this is actually probably a pretty good idea. But I think if the Congress wants them to legislate this sort of stuff, they can pass laws and then give specific authority to the EPA. But for the EPA at the executive branch level to just make it up on their own is bullshit. And they do this, not just the EPA, but lots of government departments do this stuff. Under the Commerce Clause, you can bury all kinds of stuff in terms of bad things the government can do to people. So I'm wholly, leaving the environmental aspect of this aside, I'm wholly in favor of the executive branch getting their wings clipped a little bit by the courts. I think this is a good decision.
It's the beauty of your system. One branch of government can keep the checks and balance of the other.
Yeah.
I think that's good because not like you said, not only the EPA but the FDA, the ATF have done this without congressional approval. And here's a stabby crab.
Yeah, hey Geodes.
Indeed. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yay, it's Crabbo the Stabbo.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody here wants to see our environments trashed, but things like the EPA, like Environment Canada, they're going so far overboard with their scope and reach. that they do need to be knocked down a peg, because that's not their intended purpose. Their intended purpose is to observe and report what's going on, so that then Congress can be like, oh, well, company XYZ is dumping liters of toxic waste into what is supposed to be a watering hole for this county, blah, 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 blah. You know, now then Congress and the local reps can stand in and enact laws saying, no, you can't do this. We're going to fine you for trashing, blah, 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 blah. The EPA shouldn't be able to just step in and be like, okay, well, we're just going to fine you. We're going to make your business illegal. And any future business you do, we're going to make something up, like trying to gauge how much carbon you're putting into the air. We're going to levy a tax on that, and how much water and electricity you use, and levy additional taxes on that. And it just snowballs like any good government bloat.
Yeah. I'm so Elowen, I see what you're writing, and there's a number of things. I mean, half of my job is figuring out what we're not going to talk about. I kind of feel like Tuesday's a better night to have those kind of in-depth discussions about topics. We move so quickly on this stuff. I don't want to get bogged down in climate science or things like that. So just to recap, this article, I think it's actually a pretty decent bit of news. I like the fact the court said, no, you don't get to just make up things the way as you want to. The Clean Water Act gives the EPA authority to enforce certain types of laws. But in a lot of this carbon stuff that they've been doing is they just decided, well, this is important, we're just going to do this. And it's, rein in the executive branch. Let's get the three different parts of government on a little more balanced level, and not have the executive just go crazy all the time, because the number of executive orders is just out of control. And anyway, you know what I'm going to say. Just give Biden more ice cream. He won't even notice. All right. Next thing. So I have, these are two articles which sort of go together, which is, let's see, energy. Are people nearing their breaking point? So I actually have three different articles. So there's French energy giants reduce fuel and electricity use now. This is the country with the nukes, right? So whatever the French are saying is way worse for the Germans. Okay, so there's this thing, followed by this thing, which was the Biden administration is just being very, we don't give a crap about American consumers when it comes to gas prices. They're just saying, well, we have to do this to stop Russia, and American drivers are willing to just put up with the pain for as long as it takes. I don't think they've read their polling data correctly. I'm fairly sure that most Americans do have a breaking point, and we're probably past it. But they like high gas prices. It seems fairly obvious that they like high gas prices. And finally, the Interior Department has proposed some new offshore oil and gas leases in the Gulf of Mexico and near Alaska. Now, this doesn't mean that they're offering them, or that anybody's been given one, or that it amounts to anything. But this looks to me like they're just starting to realize that they have to at least give the appearance of giving a crap.
We're going to get more gas. We swear. Yeah.
So what do you guys think about this? Europe is screwed. In Germany, they're telling them to turn the heat down to 16 degrees centigrade. We've got this thing. The Biden administration really doesn't give a crap about American consumers and gas. And they're trying to placate us with a handful of oil leases that may or may not even happen. Your thoughts?
Great reset. No, sorry, got something stuck in my throat.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
Yeah, but no, it's one of those things where I'm like, I think this is part of that whole narrative. It's just one of those things where I'm just kind of like, I don't think it's going to work out the way they hope, because realistically, I think a lot of it's just this is just to also screw over middle class people mostly and take a lot of their money. And I mean, it might work, but it's going. I don't think they're going to like the repercussions of what happens next. That's the only thing. So,
yeah, I think people are pretty close to their darn limit.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really affect me that much because I don't drive that much for a living. I'm not one of these people that decided to buy a house in Fresno and then drive 2 or 3 hours a day to and from my job, because people
Sure.
do that, and those people are screwed. You know,
Yeah, but I
I've
mean,
engineered
it
my
is
life around
costing you
not
in the
having to do
sense-
that stuff.
in the sense that all your food and other goods are costing you more.
Of course,
especially and doubly so in the light of the rampant or the percentages of inflation that have been spiking. But yeah, you're right. Like, you're not going to really you'll be okay, Harry. I know you'll be okay. But, you know, like everybody else below that sort of line, they're screwed. People can't afford rent. They can't afford food. They can't afford gas to get to and from work. Transportation, alternate transportation prices have gone up as well. So, I mean, it's just, and
Yeah,
you know,
I mean-
Geo's, I'm so like, Great Reset, yeah, but, and I personally am in somewhat of an okay spot because we've got so many nuke reactors in my neck of the woods. Energy really isn't too much of a concern. Gas, yeah, it's going up, but I'm counting my blessings while not, you know, worried too much
Well,
about.
Functional. Here's the
Awful
quote that
stuff.
got everybody worked up.
Oh, the
What do you say to those families who say,
Why are you playing through the wrong speakers? Okay, can you even hear it?
listen,
I can hear it, but it
I
sounds
can
like
hear
it's.
it. It's in one ear.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going through like a fishbowl or something.
Okay, it sounds like it's doing something really stupid. Let's just ignore this for the time being. Okay, so this
Well,
is
just-
the
you
part
can
where the
still hear
guy
it if you
says,
play it and don't talk
this
over
is about the future of the liberal world order, and we have to stand firm. How about get bent?
Yeah.
How about, I mean, seriously, you've even got CNN, which is going to give you the most softball interpretation you can get. This is like home court advantage, right? And they're going easy on you. And so they're just saying, hey, what about American drivers? What about the people who are feeling this pain at the pump?
Fuck them.
What about these people? It's like, well, it's important. The liberal world order requires that we do this. I don't think most people care about the liberal world order. They have more important concerns like, can I actually afford to buy gas to go to my job so I can buy food that I can't afford?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Not as many activists as I think they have ultimately, or that they've indoctrinated, you know. So
Yeah, they have some useful idiots, but the silent majority is just getting so worked up into a tizzy that I think you're right. There is going to be some level of blowback, geodes. It's just a matter of, are they going to let the people?
Yeah, but you
Yeah,
know,
I'm
we
just
can
gonna cut it right
we can
there.
all just buy electric cars. That's going to solve everything. Except pair of stories here. This is from Australia. So they're talking about electric vehicles could significantly increase demand on the power grid. Trials underway to change energy use behavior. I know, what a shock. Having people plug in, you know, like giant 30, 40 kilowatt hour batteries and charge them every day might affect the electric grid. Who knew? Who knew? What a huge surprise.
Mhm.
But in the UK, they've gone one step further. They have actually passed a law which came into effect on Friday, which does a number of really kind of terrible things. So one of the things it does is it essentially requires smart chargers, and it requires you to report data back about the charging time of day and how much is being used and where it's happening to like the government and the utilities. And if they decide that there's too many people charging during times when they don't want them to, they can just do things like decide, oh, well, we're going to charge your car more slowly, or we can just
they're gonna
delay charging
throttle
it
you?
for like a half hour. Yeah, they're going to throttle
Jesus
it and
Christ.
delay it.
So like what? So they do that to you, and then you have a sudden emergency, and guess what?
Yeah.
Your car's not charged because they decided to throttle you. Your street is using too much power.
Yep, you got it in one.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
This is fine. So they're talking about trying to get, they're saying we don't need to drill for oil. We don't have to worry about gas prices. Just get an electric car. It's going to be fine.
We're not going to build
but-
more nuclear plants because we have solar panels.
But they don't have enough power with the existing grid to do anything resembling the electrification of personal cars and delivery vehicles that they're talking about.
nor
It just doesn't exist.
nor do they have the infrastructure of an electrical grid to carry the amount of electricity that they would need to supply all this.
Yeah, and the UK is definitely not going to do some sort of weird charging tax scheme based on what you're doing. They're definitely not going to use all this data they're collecting from these smart chargers for some purpose that you'll regret later. Remember, this is the same country that used to charge you several £100 a year for owning a TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they would have vans that would drive around with electronics trying to detect whether you had a TV in your house and you weren't paying your TV tax. So I don't really have a lot of faith that the UK government will not use this for purposes that we wouldn't like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think you guys fought a little war, a little conflict, a little skirmish about how authoritarian the UK is. I don't know.
Well, I'm getting a heat pump water heater, and so I've got an electrician coming out on Tuesday, I believe, to take a look at stuff, because I said, while you're hooking up the thing for the heat pump water heater, how about you run another 220 line for the heat pump AC heating system that I will eventually install. And since I'm in California, I'm going to be forced to buy an electric car. Why don't you just run a third one through the same conduit? Because if we're going to start attaching conduit to the side of my house and drilling holes in walls, you might as well run 3 lines instead of 1.
Do it all at once. Yeah.
Just do it all at once, because I know I'm going to end up getting an electric car at some point, or probably an electric motorcycle, and that will be fun. Because who doesn't want to go 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds? Man, electric motorcycles are just sick. They really are.
Yeah. Well, my brother-in-law's Roadster was fucking disgusting. Like, he's like, "Do you want? Are you holding on? I'm gonna open it up." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And then he touches that gas pedal, and I'm like, balls deep in the seat. Like, oh my god! Who knew these things could fly so fast? Like,
and that's nothing. That's nothing compared to what an electric bike will do, man.
Exactly. Yeah, true. But it's like, how long could you keep this up? He's like, as long as it would take. Like,
yep. Potato, potato, potato.
Yeah, you could.
There's actually a ow. Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no! Don't die.
Tell me what to do, Harry.
I think it'd be fun. I kind of want to get like electric Vespa or something like that.
Sweet.
Well, they're really good for urban life. Like, definitely, I would get a new one. Elwin and I have one, and it's
except I know the drivers here because I am that driver, and I hate them.
I just hate the assholes who decide that when it's convenient for them, they can be, a pedestrian on the sidewalk using.
Oh yeah, they're starting to do that.
Those people piss me off. You're a class 3 vehicle. Get the fuck on the road and stay on the fucking road.
Yeah.
Oh, I've become that Karen. I will walk in the middle. I will not give way. What are you gonna do? Run into me? Do it.
Although it was a little freaky today. This old dude in a electric scooter almost ran over Elwin while we were standing up against the wall outside the store while having a cigarette while waiting for the next game to start. Like, he just went like straight towards her, and she like kind of booped out of the way. But
was he like partially blind? Did he
heading for happy hour? I think he was just country buffet or whatever.
A grumpy goose.
It was time for day old donuts at Tim Hortons.
Well, Backstreet Boys are in Toronto tonight, so maybe he was just late for the concert.
Probably.
You know what? I think what we'll see is a fold out of solar panel setup for your bike, so you can just leave it outside and just have it bathe in the sun. That's how you can get around the power shortage.
Yeah, that's how you can get around it. So just for fun though, so somebody in the UK actually has a bit of a clue. Sort of along the lines of, hey, you're worried about COVID, why don't you just tell people to lose weight? They're saying, instead of worrying about all this power generation thing, why don't we actually have a push to insulate the homes we already have so we can actually use less power? I can just imagine with a lot of the older homes that they have there, that there's an awful lot of power waste just sort of laying there waiting to be taken care of.
So the problem with the UK, I don't know if it goes into this, but I found this absolutely fascinating. It's so like the British and so stupid. So depending, they have all sorts of laws depending on the age of and the style of building. So whether or not you can get double or triple paned windows, like changing those out and everything like that, you have to find manufacturers of windows that will fit the age and style of your building, because there's so many old, like really old buildings that still exist that are fine to stand but should be more modernized, right, in terms of windows, changing the roofs and everything like that, but they can't because there's all sorts of specialized laws that you have to follow, which makes it very expensive. Like you can't use certain glass, you can't use certain other materials. You might not even be able to change out the windows at all. You'll just need to put like a plexiglass inset and hope that that's enough. It's mad. Like I know here we have heritage housing status, which usually just means you can't knock it down per se, but you can. You have to keep the what's it called, the facade, I guess, as the original building, but you can gut it as much as possible to make it more modern. But yeah, that would be interesting to see if they change those laws.
Yeah.
Because the way some buildings are now, forget it. There is no installation. There's nothing. You can't change it because the laws on the books protect certain types of homes.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have any kind of historical status or you're in a zone of historical homes, the amount of restrictions you can get are pretty substantial here in the US. But aside from that, there's another thing in the US is we, in most places, close down pretty early. So in terms of people socializing and having fun, it's becoming harder and harder to find a place to sort of do that. And somebody in California, in a rare fit of common sense, is that, hey, maybe we should let people who want to, like areas, maybe stay open later. So maybe if people want to party till 4 a.m, they can just choose to do that. Yeah. I like freedom, and I don't think that in the times that we live in right now with Ubers and Lyfts and people generally being a lot better about drunk driving than they were 20 years ago, that we need this nanny state, close it down at 2 a.m. thing. I'm actually very much in favor of them taking their foot off our neck just a little bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because the thing is, it depends. You can make this beautiful because we have a lot of neighborhood pubs here, for example. And due to the fact that you're in a residential area, the zoning states that at midnight they have to close and they have to stop selling alcohol, I think, half an hour before. But you can stay until midnight. And I think that's perfectly fine. You're living in a residential area that's, after 8 p.m., it's nobody on the street but people who live there and people in the pub, fine. But you go to the club district, and there's nobody there who's there after hours but people who are going to the clubs, and they shut down, like you said, at 2 o'clock here, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and you're like, okay, well, now what? Now people go and create mischief.
Yep. You just buy, just get a big jug of Boone Family Farm terrible wine or something and drink behind the place out of a paper bag. No. Just let it stay up until 4 a.m. If people, it's not like people can't get drunk and rowdy before 2 or do all sorts of other things. It's just like, it's so easy to circumvent the law. Why even have it? Just let people legally drink till 4 a.m. in places where they want to do that. It doesn't require the places to stay open later, but they might want to.
If they have to be at work at 6, they just stay up, wash their face a little bit and go straight to work.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Just rub the deodorant on your shirt. Don't even, just rub it right on the outside. Don't even.
Just wear one of those Pine Air fresheners around your neck. You'll be fine. When I was a young lad, what I would do is I'd have this ratty old backpack that looks like it came from a homeless man's butt crack, and we'd fill that with booze, like some whiskey and a couple of tall boys or whatever. Stash it behind the club in the alleyway. And then when we got out of the club at 2 o'clock going, shit, we're drunk and we're not done partying. Oh, right, the backpack. And then just, wander around the streets, drinking, avoiding cops.
Yeah, we're not
Yes,
nearly as good at drinking as our ancestors were. They were
Mhm.
they were legends. You know, each generation is getting more soy infused, I'm afraid, when it comes to this kind of culture. My grandparents used to go to concerts where there was no alcohol allowed. So
No.
were they going to let that
What?
stop them? No, they would
No.
take like a big cooler, put a bunch of instant lemonade in it, like the stuff with the powder that you add the water to, and then they just pour vodka in. They call it Lemonade Larry. And they didn't check them. Bunch of gray hairs going to a concert, they're not going to open up their cooler and stuff, and they just sit there and get plastered on Lemonade Larry while they watched whatever it was, Chuck Mangione.
God,
They-
I love that.
they
That's
didn't care.
hilarious.
Anyway, so enough of this. Let's see. So, Functional, I'm so glad you're here because
Oh boy.
I want to take a look at a couple. This is a block called International Cooking is Weird. This nice lady is going to make a dish called macaroni and cheese with strawberries. Now, Sora tells me this
What the
isn't as
fuck?
weird as I think it is.
It
But
better
it's
not be, or
essentially-
I'm done. I'm gone. That's just too
Well-
much for me.
She's basically making macaroni and cheese with fresh strawberries, but the cheese is like a farmer's cheese. I'm having trouble wrapping my head around this. It's like Polish cooking is...
So
I
it's
thought
a
I understood
sweeter
Polish
cheese.
cooking. Well, even so, with pasta? Is there something wrong with me? Am I just short-sighted and I don't get it?
Is she just using regular like semolina pasta?
She's just using regular pasta.
Because I've had a like squid ink dessert pasta. It was really good.
Look, pasta.
Yeah. I don't know. This is weird.
I don't know. This is
She's
weird. This is weird, and this is sad and wrong. So, so here's a channel
Oh,
that I
no.
found called Essen Rezept. It's in
No,
German.
No.
says
Don't-
One frozen
no.
chicken breast. So what do you do? Let's kill the music. So don't thaw out the chicken breast. Just get out a box grater and start going to town. Here, let me turn the
Oh.
speed up on this. Okay, let me just turn this up to like 2x. Okay, so then she takes that. She's gonna add a shallot.
Shallot.
Okay, now she's doing a potato on a box
Oh,
grater. 'Cause
God,
apparently
I
that's your
really-
favorite thing.
I really hope she watched the between.
I don't think
Why?
it matters.
It's all gonna get cooked.
And so we're gonna add an egg. So you're thinking to yourself as a normal cook right now, Functional. Hey, maybe she's gonna make meatballs. This will be great. So we're gonna take
Meatball
this.
or like
we're gonna,
a
she's
like
seasoning it,
a
and it's like
patty.
I'm
chicken
go-
crab
okay.
cake kind of.
This is
patty.
going to be
Yeah,
great.
like-
This is going to be meatballs, right? So everything's going to be fine. Oh, we're so close. This might actually not suck because we'll have small enough to make it. Wait, what? What are you doing?
You're
You
just
mad
making a
woman. Why are
giant-
you not making. No. No. This is terrible. And then she does this. So, like, later, much later, after she cooks this giant patty of potato and frozen chicken, she ends up with this thing. You know, there she is flipping it over. And I'm just like, man, I could have eaten 30 minutes earlier than her. And I don't want this. I don't want that.
That doesn't look.
Am I
Okay.
just short-sighted? Am I a bad person?
I just.
It's
it doesn't
peasant
look
food
right.
without the charm.
Yeah, I would add some paprika to it. For me, it's the color. I think that's what's putting me off because you've got the pale chicken color, the pale potato color. I want put in some paprika in there. Maybe
It
it'll be
needs more
okay.
golden brown deliciousness. If you made this into balls and then you toasted them so they were all golden brown and delicious, you'd have toasty potato, toasty chicken. It would actually be pretty good. It would be
Yeah.
okay. But like this, the ratio of golden brown deliciousness to frozen potato and chicken that you cook up is just all wrong. This is just not good. She has a whole bunch of recipes like this that are just weird.
Yeah, because the delivery method is part of the taste experience. When you're doing a giant piece of chicken potato cake like this, you're getting a lot of just soggy, a lot of soft, not
Yeah.
enough
Yeah.
crispy. Even the way she fried it, if she again, I wouldn't go this direction of the giant pancake, but even if she fried the first side high heat, real fast, get that nice crisp on it, then flip it quick, get that other crispiness, and then turn it down and cover it, I could see that being a little bit better of execution, but...
Well, this whole channel is
hell?
just full of bizarre, strange stuff. And it's always, oh, well, this is my family's favorite. It's like, no, this is crazy.
it?
Your family
don't
know
believe
better?
you.
Like, what is that, chicken vaginas?
I don't know. It's chicken vaginas with something. It's all just very weird, you know. Her father's
Oh.
favorite recipe. It's like Parmesan and thing. It's like, you know,
I
we're off to a
her
good start.
skirt.
Okay, that's... Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Making cutlets?
Anyway, I put the link in the
Does
chat,
she,
so anybody
like,
who
not
wants to check
like
it out can.
Chicken thighs or something? Like,
She doesn't like flavor.
fried chicken?
She's
Yeah.
German, so she can't stop herself.
Like I said,
I mean-
it's peasant food without the charm. Sorry, Gio. Elwin brings up one of my favorite childhood inspirations is the urban peasant Canadian television chef who did peasant food with lots of charm. Like, there was charm oozing out of him, out of the food. He was just a nice old man who takes simple ingredients and just make it into something, like, delicious. Like, what we call colloquially peasant food is just, you know, they don't have to be the cheapest of ingredients, but, you know, cheaper ingredients to make and using them in the right ways to make something wonderful. Sorry, Gio, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say, all you need, what you need is a day where you just make, you know, this Polish macaroni with strawberries. Then for lunch, then for dinner you make whatever that was, and then for dessert you have a ketchup popsicle. That's all you really.
So Sora, what do you
Yes.
think of this? What do you think of this parenting hack? So this is listed as let's see, how do they describe it? The ultimate dad hack. So
Okay.
let's check this out. Taught my daughter how to swim. I put her in the fountain. Tell her if she gets enough money, I'll buy her a new toy. So he
Oh, I
basically takes his
saw
daughter, sticks her in the public fountain where people have thrown coins to make a wish, and makes her collect coins. I find this annoying.
Yeah.
So they're
This-
I'm not gonna. Okay, I can't say what I wanted to say because I think that'll get
Well,
us demonetized.
People
I
aren't
will-
supposed to. This isn't a wading pool. This is a fountain, a public fountain. You're not supposed to put your kids in the fountain. This isn't like the beginning of, was it Friends, or you're not supposed to play in the fountain.
No, you can play in the fountain. Just leave the coins there. That's not how it works.
Yeah, those aren't
Yeah,
your
but
coins.
this is
Putting
the
my
type
kids
of-
in
these
the
are
fountain
the-
with what I've seen go into that fountain, usually involving a dingy backpack full of alcohol after the clubs have closed.
Some Lemonade Larry.
Lemonade Larry, the homeless people I see in the fountains. Like, I wouldn't want to put my child in there, but, you know, you do you, dude.
Well, see, the way this is this like these kind of shameless family bloggers. You know,
Yeah,
they're just this is just a reactionary thing.
Yeah.
I hope they don't actually do this beyond just for this one video, but it's like one of those things where it's you filmed this, you put it up on the internet, you thought this was good. This is obviously for the polarizing reactions.
yeah.
Because
And-
it's not
and look at-
cute. Because that's the thing. Like if they
Look at
they
her
made it so-
shoes. She's wearing her shoes in theirs too, and those
it's
aren't
Crocs. They're Crocs. They're
like. Are those
fine.
Crocs?
Yeah, those are Crocs.
He should lose his children. They should be taken
Yeah,
care of.
you don't put your kids in Crocs.
Making your kids wear Crocs. That's just terrible.
That's
Okay.
That's beyond the
And
pale.
This
she's
guy-
so cute too. It's like
she
I
needs
don't
a
wanna
better.
say
She needs a
anything.
better dad.
Yeah,
He's-
Well, you know what?
that's what you do
At
for
least
marrying
she
the
has
fuckboy.
dad.
Apparently.
Excuse me.
Hey, why don't I make our kid go pull wishing fountain quarters out, and then I'll buy her an ice cream cone or something. I don't know. I feel like this guy's exploiting her for his stupid YouTube channel.
YouTube, yeah.
Screw these people. All right, moving on.
They're the can family.
Oh wait, this was a picture I was going to show to Skep.
Oh wow, liquid
Liquefied.
asbestos.
In handy pressurized cans for spraying on heating pipes, water pipes, above furnaces, and around hot air registers. Man, it used to be a simpler
me up.
time.
Yeah, there was lead in the paint so that we could tell
That's the good
who's
stuff.
the dumbass eating the paint. Like, 'cause they wouldn't be
Obviously.
allowed.
Yeah, Bobby Blue
Yeah.
Lips. Yeah. All right.
Wow.
So let's see, what is next? Oh, it's a break. I don't know, why did I have all the breaks in the same place? Probably because I suck. Okay.
Ew.
So this is a
Okay.
section of things which I'm calling better than this show. So this
Okay.
this video has it says 1,800 views, and
Okay.
all it is this 1,800 views. We
Close
get
up of a shrimp in
maybe
some kind
100 with the wind at our back on this show, where we actually make an effort. But I should stop doing that and just take pictures
Yeah,
of
but
shrimp.
no. But
with a
you
shaky
see,
cam.
this is a short, so people like are just scrolling through. So they might not even be watching it, but they've scrolled to it, and as they scroll past it, it's a view. So
Okay.
I don't think that. I mean,
Okay.
you know, to
Here's
make you feel
Sora.
better.
20 here, more content that's better than this show. 2,600 views. How to press escape with a small onion.
Ah, this is content. I love it so much. Oh my
this
god.
is the shitty how-to channel. Look, there you go.
I hate my life.
Small onion,
I love it.
escape.
I
Check.
learned something today.
Yeah.
I hate my life. Like,
Okay.
how these people are making money doing the dumbest shit.
Yeah. 26
I hate my
times the number of views we're likely to get tonight for
This is
pressing escape
fantastic.
with a
I
small
love it.
onion. It makes me wonder whether I should what I'm doing wrong with my life.
We gotta rethink our life choices, Harry.
Okay.
We're doing
So
something wrong.
this final one, which is better than our show,
Uh-huh.
60,000 views. 60,000 views. Okay. How to press U with small scissors. Okay, did you catch that? Let's do that again. How to press U with small scissors.
Ah, I love it so much.
I hate everybody.
That's really funny.
60,000 views. Clearly, we don't know
Daniel
how to
wanted
make good entertainment.
I can't even.
It's good.
Okay, well, it just like I was just using my phone and I'm just going through YouTube stuff, looking at shorts, and it handed me that picture of that shrimp, and I'm like, wait, what? Why? People, anyway, on to something slightly more cerebral than that. It turns out that tritium, which is an isotope of hydrogen, is extremely rare. Deuterium, so hydrogen basically has one proton, one electron, right? Deuterium, which is an isotope of hydrogen, has one proton, one neutron, one electron. And then tritium, which is very rare, has one proton, two neutrons, and one electron. The idea is that if you basically fuse deuterium and tritium together, you can produce power. It just turns out that that tritium doesn't like being tritium all that much. The energy required is fairly low, and you get a lot of energy out of it. So this is the way we're talking about using tritium to make fusion power work. The problem
Better not
is,
be bad-mouthing tritium. Tritium just wants to live its best life, Harry.
the problem is that there's building this new reactor called ITER in Europe, which is going to use up nearly all of the tritium that we have in the world over its operational lifetime.
Oh.
There isn't going to be any more tritium for other experiments that want to work with this stuff, because the one reactor that's just for testing is going to use all of it up. So the question becomes, what's the point of trying to develop fusion reactors if we actually don't have enough tritium to make them work? Now, most of the tritium that we get in the world is actually produced by some Canadian reactors,
Yeah.
which are actually run for the very purpose of creating this stuff. It's a fission reactor that produces tritium. This article, which I should probably just put in the chat, if Geos hasn't already done it.
Yeah.
That's okay. Is actually worth a look. I mean, they raise a good question, but to my mind, it's not really that big a deal, because we could very easily just make more tritium if that's what we wanted to do. It's really not that hard to make tritium. We just need to embrace the fact we're going to need fission reactors in order to make tritium for the fusion reactors.
Come on, world, give us some money, we'll give you some reactors, you can make your own tritium.
Yeah.
Go Canada.
I want fusion, but it's not because I want this unlimited clean source of energy that we kind of hope it is. I want a BattleTech future. Okay, I want to pilot a big mech. That's it.
Geodes and me, we're gonna take over Europe in our Mad Cats.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but this one reactor is going to use up nearly all of it, except for 5 kilograms.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be it.
That's
I just find
by 2050 it says.
Yeah, by 2050 they're going to use up nearly all of the stuff we have. So tritium is $30,000 a gram.
That's pretty cheap considering.
Yeah, well, we could just mine it from the surface of the moon.
Is there tritium on the moon? I thought.
Well, there's helium-3 on the moon, and so we can get things for fusion there. But honestly, we just need to get over the idea that fusion is going to be this magic thing that's going to solve all our problems, and just start making various kinds of fission reactors, Gen 3, Gen 4. Start using thorium and start making the tritium we need for when these things eventually become viable. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a symbiosis, because the fission reactors can burn up a lot of the high-grade nuclear waste, so it's no longer waste. We can use it to get rid of nuclear waste. We can make power. We can have small ones that bring power closer to people in, like, none of it or wherever. There's lots of places where small nuclear reactors would be good. And then we harvest the tritium and we use it to run the fusion reactors. But this utopia where we just have fusion and we can make fission go away because it's messy, it doesn't exist. We got to start working with what we have and not what we think we might have tomorrow. It's getting insane. We're starting to stagnate to the point of where we might start going backwards soon. Well, we kind of are in some. But there's practical things that we need to be doing now, and we need to not let this utopian vision make us lose sight of them. Is all I'm trying to say.
One of the things slightly unrelated, but you're talking about like kind of mining stuff off the moon. Something I've been kind of thinking about is, honestly, what we ought to start seeing if we can do is, if there's and this is a bit of a this is maybe a little sci-fi, but I kind of actually want to see if it's possible to try and catch like smaller meteorites or something, or meteors, or actually but basically smaller meteors that like might have some elements, because there are a few that have flown by that actually have some rare earth metals and stuff like that could be kind of useful to have. And I'm not saying we need to
put a pin in that thought and save it, because we have a story coming up in a little bit that sort of relates to that.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, so there's that. I'm gonna just move on.
I've definitely got words on that when we get to it.
And then there's this thing right here.
But you're not wrong, Geodes.
Unvaccinated children have high natural immunity to COVID, says Israeli study.
You don't say.
So I had to read through this to figure out what it says, because based on the headline, it almost sounds like unvaccinated children have more immunity, full stop.
Yeah.
But they mean like had COVID already, but were unvaccinated? Yeah.
What they're saying is actually, for kids who've already had COVID, their immunity is much more substantial and robust to future COVID infections than people who got the vaccine. Setting aside the question of whether or not kids should be getting vaccinated or not for this sort of thing, because I don't feel like getting canceled. So we're not talking about that, Susan. We're simply talking about this drive to vaccinate people who've already got a better quality of immunity. And we see the same kind of results in older people too. I don't understand what the hesitancy is against just natural infection providing people the status that they need to keep the government Karens happy.
And this is from June 28th, 2022. There were, I want to say 14 months ago, a similar study and release that was just not politically expedient, let's put it, and was immediately dismissed out of hand. And now that I'm assuming this is a new study because the other study was only like 20,000 or something. This is 300,000. So
yeah, well, 300,000 people is good. This is good because it's a big number. There's a lot of people.
Population of Israel.
It isn't. It isn't 35 carefully chosen people plus a control group. This is like serious data.
They've only got like 9 million people in the country to begin with, so that's a good, tight control group. Or I shouldn't say control group because it's not a control group, a study group. Sample size, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, my shocked face, Green Badger.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, I don't want to belabor the point on this. I generally stay pretty clear of COVID-related stuff, but this is just important enough that I thought it was worth actually mentioning. Because when the news and our common sense coincide, it's like, kismet, excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
One other really good source, of course, is John Campbell's YouTube videos. He covers a lot of this stuff too, so you can always go check him out.
Yeah, Dr. John Campbell is a great source. Medcram is also very good. And also Dr. Mobeen Sayed, drbean.com or Dr. Bean on YouTube. He also does some really good deep dives on stuff. He's a little bit more cheerleader-ish than Dr. Campbell. I really like Dr. John Campbell. He seemed like he'd be a fun guy to go to the pub with and raise a few pints and have a shepherd's pie, that kind of thing. He seems like he'd be fun to play darts with. Yeah, I would like to play darts with Dr. John Campbell. But Dr. Mobeen is actually from Cupertino, California, so he's sort of local to Silicon Valley, and he's been doing a lot of pretty good videos too, and long form, and he does some good interviews as well. So he's another guy worth taking a look at.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's make that go away.
Yeah, make it all go away.
So, mountains of space junk could carry us to Mars. Things that are already in orbit are really valuable because we don't have to spend a bunch of fuel putting them into orbit. Now, whether it's that asteroid that you were looking for, or whether it's stuff we've already shot into space, yeah, there are reasons why we want to use that stuff. It costs a ton of money to put anything into space. Anything or anyone. So if you can find a way to use the stuff that's already up there rather than just having it be dangerous and floating around, yeah, you want to do that. So in this particular venture that they're looking at, this is another Australian thing. There's a group of companies that are working together to try to find ways to use stuff that's already up there to further space ventures. And the big thing in this article, which I probably should just link. Let's just send this out to everybody. People like links to the science articles. So, there's a company that they reference called Neumann Space. Now, what Neumann Space has done is they have, what they're doing is plasma propulsion. So you scavenge garbage from space, like booster phases and all this other stuff that's there, and you can take the metal and essentially make an alloy in space from the garbage. And then when you apply power to that, you can create a plasma that then gets accelerated. So you've probably heard of ion drives that some of the deep space probes use. Well, what they do is they'll carry something like neon, like a gas. That's the propellant. And then they use either a small nuclear battery or solar panels or some combination of those to get enough voltage to accelerate that, and it comes out a nozzle at the end, and that provides the propulsion. Well, what if you could have satellites and space stations and things gather garbage from around them and use those as the propellant for a ion drive? That's basically what Neumann Space is trying to do. They're giving you an ion drive that recycles stuff from the space environment. So these thrusters could be used to keep things like the International Space Station floating pretty much indefinitely. I did some of the hard work here just to double check this because, of course, it's really easy for people just to talk bullshit. So if you look at a solar power thing in orbit, right? There's about 1,360 watts per meter squared. That's what the sun is basically beaming down on this thing, compared to an average of 340 watts on the ground on Earth. So that's like a global average. So there's 4 times more power in space on average. Maybe not 4 times more than New Mexico. But the point is there's a lot of power. But you don't have that propellant, and shipping it up is actually hard. If you have a technology that can take space garbage and turn it into fuel that you can use to keep your big-ass space station in orbit rather than having it deorbit, awesome. So sunlight plus garbage equals win. That's basically what this article is about. But more broadly speaking, if we can mine asteroids and do all other sorts of things, then we can build those space stations out of metals and things that we get from up there.
Yep.
Shipping stuff from Earth into orbit is kind of a losing proposition. I mean, Elon's trying his best, but there's only so much you can do.
Yeah. I mean, it's partially because of SpaceX's design for having rockets return to be reused. I mean, that's actually pretty groundbreaking, realistically. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's like if you could do all this stuff up in space, that's even better. And that's actually something I remember hearing a suggestion once of hollowing out like a larger asteroid and basically building the components inside needed for space travel effectively, if you wanted to try that, because asteroids have some natural shielding for radiation. But that was kind of one of those things where it's like we're starting to get to the point where it's that's one step at a time. That's like several steps out, if we ever get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, what part of what makes it so great that we've been able to send stuff to Mars, not obviously manned missions yet, and that seems to be the next sort of a step we're taking as a species, is to get people to Mars and back. The next step after that is the belt of our solar system, the big one, and that's what, like you were saying before, Geodes, it'd be easier to mine those than say more in motion. Like these are obviously in motion. They're circling they're just past Mars in our solar system, circling around the sun. But things that are going on a more straight trajectory, not an orbital one, those would be a lot harder to make good use of or easier use of. Whereas these, they're kind of just sort of there. We can get to them once we have that. I think that should be our next focus, is getting to those, because we might be able to find things like tritium. We're definitely going to find things like rare minerals that we need here, like cobalt and gold for superconductors and processors and all that kind of stuff. I don't really want them to devalue the market. Well, I kind of do for some things, like cobalt, like that's in computers, and gold is in computers. I don't mind if that devalues.
I don't think this is gonna happen. I think the idea of going up and mining space for profits on Earth is not going to happen anytime soon.
Not in our lifetime.
With the exception of something,
250 years,
with the exception of something like tritium, or some unique compound that you can only make in space because of zero gravity, for instance.
Yeah.
Maybe some weird graphene or something like that. There's no going to space to get gold is not a winning proposition money wise. But if you need gold in space, right? If you need it to build circuits and do things, that gold is really, really useful. Having gold come from space rather than having to ship it up from the ground, the economics of that make a lot more sense.
Yeah. Because one of the most expensive ventures, I'm not talking financially, even though it is financially, but like the expenditure of energy to escape Earth's gravity is the most costly part of any kind of venture.
Yep.
Yeah. And SpaceX has made it a lot cheaper
to get us off the ground and into...
Yeah. SpaceX has made it so much cheaper. And actually, for things that don't involve human beings or Laika the dog or anything like that, you can essentially big electromagnetic catapult type things as another way that we could put payloads up there. There are other people working on other plans that might be simpler, but you can't cheat gravity. It takes a ton of power no matter what you get it from.
Yeah. Well,
like setting up some sort of setup on Mars and then shooting some of these more mineral-rich ones over to there, and then do the manufacturing there on Mars to be used in space for other space projects, and blah, blah. You're right. That's so much more cost-effective. Again, not really speaking financially, even though that would be a part of it, but more the energy expenditure and time.
Yeah, the Utopia Planatia space.
That's
docks.
why it's around Mars, because that's that's the and these things, this company here reminds me of the Bussard collectors, which would, as this Enterprise is traveling through space, would pick up things like hydrogen and other gases and stellar materials for onboard replication. And even though they had a warp reactor which was creating the power, they still needed more raw material to come in to be able to fabricate into whatever.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's the art imitating life, imitating art.
Yeah,
It's kind of cool.
one of the things one of the reasons why I also suggested like capturing something like an asteroid also was because I remember back in the Obama era they were trying to come up with a way to capture meteors before they hit Earth, and they had that whole little 3D video example of a concept idea they came up with. And then, of course, we had the probe that we managed to latch onto an asteroid. So I feel like that would also be a logical next step, too, as well. And using something like thrusters, that could also turn our trash into fuel up in space. That'd be great. So
Yeah. Well, they spend a lot of time keeping things like the ISS from deorbiting. Now, there are a couple competing technologies. One of them is an electromagnetic tether, which goes down, basically is like a big boom of metal, like a big antenna that goes down underneath the space station. And because of the Earth's magnetic field, by doing a little fun science with this electromagnetic tether, you can actually boost the orbital height of the space station. So if you have power, you have a lot of options once you have a lot of electric power. And basically a kilowatt, 1.3 kilowatts per square meter is a lot of power. And even if your solar panels are only 20-30% efficient, you actually can generate a lot of juice around the Earth. It doesn't work quite so well if you're far out in the outer solar system, because then you need something like a nuclear battery. But if you've got abundant power and you've got propellant, then you can do things like just have satellites that don't run out of fuel and deorbit. And if you're going to actually build long-running communities in space that do manufacturing and other things, this is a big bonus. I mean, just my opinion. Yeah. Anyway, it's nice to find some space news that doesn't involve SpaceX. So.
Yeah.
It also go ahead.
I was gonna say you could do a whole stream also on stuff like Project Orion and solar sails, talking about that kind of stuff too. But yeah, it's just
as long as we don't talk about that
science
episode
forever.
of Deep Space Nine where Nog and the other one.
You shut your mouth.
Deep Space Nine is the
Geos,
best.
I should
Star
also
Trek.
mention, just for completion's sake, with our current technology, from Earth to Mars, 7 months.
Yep.
Multiply that by 8 to get from Mars just to the asteroid belt.
Yeah.
So we're talking huge gaps. That's why, Harry, I'm saying, maybe in like 200 years we could, but
Yeah.
I'm never going to see that in my lifetime.
So,
What is
so
this?
keeping in mind that number that I mentioned earlier, the 340 watts per square meter, somebody has created a car called the Lightyear Model 0, which has 5.5 meters of solar panels glued onto it. And so the idea here is that you'll have this car that just by parking outside, free abundant
Solar
sunshine.
freaking roadways.
Yeah, you're basically
That's what I'm
carrying
getting.
the solar roadway with you. It's a little better than solar freaking roadways. However, I'm kind of skeptical. So if you look at it, 5.5 meters of square meters of solar panels, not optimally oriented, mind you. Still better than a flat roadway type thing. If you have 340 watts per square meter, right, but you're only running 20% efficiency, you don't really get a ton of power out of this thing. They're claiming that you can go up to 70 kilometers a day on just the energy that you can harvest from the sun. The operative phrase being up to, right?
So, to you two gentlemen who live closer to the equator, much closer than Sora or I, do you see a lot of black cars driving around? typically. Not
Well,
really, right?
like the Model T.
There's a
Well,
lot.
my point is that you have to put this black paneling on a car, which I could see. Okay, maybe if you live somewhere where there's lots of sunlight year round, like say New Mexico, sure. But then the car is black, so it's absorbing more heat, meaning you have to cool the car internally, expending
This is
power.
fine.
Is that just going to be a loss? Like, it makes no sense, huh?
Listen, functional. We already do black cars with black interiors without the solar panels. Okay, we're way ahead of you on that one with interior heat. Okay, so
Yeah,
I wasn't sure because my car was black on black, and in the summertime I wanted to kill myself.
But look at this! Look at this
And
vision
car.
of this car. It's going over like a little bridge, and there's like a little creek, and there's flowers and grass.
It's so
and
pretty.
It's so
That's
pretty.
totally
lit.
not
It's a nice
Photoshop.
It's
idea.
one with nature.
It's a nice idea. So just it's and you can plug it in. It'll also charge. You can charge it, and you're going to need to. But yeah. Oh, sorry, only 5 meters squared. I got it wrong. But yeah, this is the thing. Now,
Does it
just
come
out
in
of
any other
curiosity,
color?
how
I
much do you
appreciate
think? How much do you think this car costs? This
Something
solution that's clearly
80.
going to make it so we don't care about high gas prices. This is going to be the
I don't know,
Biden
something
Granholm
like the
vision.
Audi
What do you think?
e-tron.
low six figures.
$80,000, Bob. $1.
$263,000.
As the kids say, go fuck yourself.
$263,000 dues.
Shit.
You should totally get one of these for Elowen. Just think how much fun she'll have driving through the meadows.
You know, there's a video I sent you a while back, Harry, of some guy down in South America building a steam engine motorbike. I think I'd rather try that.
Okay, to give it a little positivity, maybe by putting this into production, at
Mhm.
least to make one,
Mhm.
it's like scientific experimentation, right?
Mhm.
To actually see, would this work? So
Yeah.
and maybe in the future, when things improve with solar panels, maybe with battery conservation, I don't know,
Mhm.
something like this is going to be a part of that. Innovation. We
eat
want
the car?
innovation. That's a good thing, but I have a feeling this is not what they're going for.
Okay, the problem is just back to the idea of putting solar panels on a car. 340 watts per square meter, 20% efficiency. You're not gonna get that
No.
much. So it's like 20% efficiency, so like 60-ish
What
times
about
5.
for-
So you're gonna get about 340 watts total. 340 watts, and you get what, 8 hours of sunshine, 10, 12. You're not generating enough power to do anything. Okay, here is how much power it takes to actually make a car sort of function. So if you look at, because they were talking about 70 kilometers, right? Just from parking the car outside in the sun. This is how much power it takes to drive, how many kilowatts it takes to drive a kilometer. Kilowatt hours per kilometer. So for a Tesla Model 3 standard range plus, it's 0.15 kilowatts per hour. That basically means for 1 kilowatt, you can go 6 kilometers. Right? So your 5 meters of solar panels producing 340 watts because they're 20% efficiency, and that's basically what you get. Maybe in Arizona you can go twice as far. I'm just not seeing it. This is very, very, very rose-colored glasses bullshit that they're doing in terms of trying to get people to want to pony up $263,000. You could take those same solar panels and just, for a lot less money, have like a solar roof or solar tracking panel somewhere, or just
I
set
could
up solar
put a
panels outside of
cage
town.
on
There's
the
so
top of
many
the
other
car.
there's so many other ways that you could use this, but this is just like a vanity thing. So you want to
I
be
could put a dog cage on top of the car, Harry, with a big hamster wheel. Put a couple badgers in there and get more efficiency. Okay?
Yeah.
This is. Oh my god.
this is
Once,
just
once you
not
read
good.
the actual specs, it's just like, oh, props for the idea, but oh my god, no, just
Yeah.
make it go away.
I'm sorry, putting solar panels on cars for anything other than basically trickle charging the battery or
Powering
maybe
the
providing
radio.
some ventilation for Fido or something is just silly. Trying to drive a car with solar panels on it just doesn't work. And if it
But
does,
maybe-
and if it
but
takes
what about for
$263,000,
people
yeah, it's going to be great because they're known for sunny days, right?
It'll totally help them for when the government unplugs their car
Yeah,
from charging.
damn straight. Anyway, this is
Oh.
dumb.
Well, you know, the Brits, they only get sunshine like twice a year.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, they'll love it.
So,
263,000. Jesus.
so I didn't know this, and I was happier not knowing this. I didn't know that Jerry Hall, former wife or lover of Mick Jagger, was married to Rupert Murdoch. But here's the happy couple, except they're not so happy they're getting divorced.
Oh.
Aww.
I mean, it's not like she's a 19-year-old or something like that, so at least credit for that. But
Although
I
some
think
of the
of-
work is 19 years old.
yeah, well, when I think of, how
Yeah.
brave a man do you have to be to hook up with Mick Jagger's hand-me-downs?
She looks better now.
How brave
than
of a
she did
woman
back
do you have to
then.
be to hook up with Mick Jagger?
I know, but it's just like the lifestyle that those guys had.
I like his pants.
Well, that's why she married Rupert Murdoch. She wanted that money. I mean, get it, girl. Whatever.
Oh, I mean, she's a good-looking woman. I mean, and she's still a good-looking woman. But holy crap! I mean, and he looks better than George Soros. But come on, man. Come on, man.
Yeah.
man.
Come on, man.
You could still buy and sell the entire city and everyone in it.
Yeah.
Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. It's kind of just a scary thing to have so much money and power. Like, it's crazy.
So I'm going to blame Geodes for the next story.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Update: South Bend
What?
teacher who moonlights as porn star fired. Buttercup, 1981.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Let's see. South Bend, Indiana. Real News. Machina has confirmed that teacher at South Bend's DoD Starbase has been fired from her job. This comes after, as the news uncovered, the teacher also moonlights as a porn star, seeing full-body nude photos of herself on the website
What an idiot.
onlyfans.com.
What an idiot.
Yeah.
How does it say how it was found out? Was it an angry wife who caught their husband subscribe to her OnlyFans?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure how they found her. I was just looking at this team. I mean, obviously she pissed off somebody and they did outrage archaeology. Before scrubbing her bio from the school's website, it shows this person using the nickname Buttercup. I don't know. Buttercup, like Princess Buttercup from The Princess Bride.
As you wish.
I guess.
Yeah.
As you wish, on my OnlyFans.
Okay, I'm sorry. She's stupid. Why would you, as a teacher who works in the public sector, keep your face uncovered in your OnlyFans?
Well, also, shouldn't she make way more money on OnlyFans anyway? And why is she even bothering to work as a teacher? I mean,
Because she wants to help the
Pension.
children.
I guess.
She's making educational
Validation.
content for her health class.
Says she's very excited Starbase Indiana opened in South Bend and loves having fun with students and sparking their interest in STEM.
I bet she likes sparking their STEM interest.
Yeah.
There's lots of experimentation,
Well,
hands-on.
The thing that this reminded me of was, do you guys remember Allison Rapp, aka Small Pterodactyl?
No.
Do you remember this from a few years ago? She was working as a rep for Nintendo America. And she pissed off a few people, and then they started looking into her. Turns out she wrote some articles that were sort of talking about don't be so hard on the Japanese about the CP stuff that's going on in their video games, and don't take your Western ideals and start pushing them on Japanese video game makers, which, I mean, I sort of agree with that in principle, mind you. But the problem
Unless
with the
those
internet
video games find their way into ours.
is when you start spouting off at people, they occasionally look up stuff that you did and call you on it. If you're going to be a spokesperson for a big company like that, I mean, spokespeople are like a very special breed. It doesn't, if you're a ticket taker for Southwest Airlines, I don't care quite so much versus you being the spokesperson for Southwest Airlines.
Yeah.
And I know that every employee who comes in contact with a customer is in some sense a spokesperson, and that's not what I'm talking about. But, you know, like
it's
you're
your
like...
level of influence in the overall company or towards the consumer.
Well, it's
So
the
Yeah.
difference of being like an employee, a part of the machine, and then the literal mouth of the machine.
Well, like Lily, the Lily AT&T character, Melania Van Traub. I'm probably mispronouncing her name. The one from the AT&T cell phone ads. If it turned out she was simultaneously running an OnlyFans, I think AT&T would be rightfully kind of annoyed by this. And they would have every right to let her go if that was the case.
An actual thing. What's his name? Jared or whatever. And
Jared
Fogel.
Fogler, yeah, from with his $5
Subway.
footlongs.
Yeah. Kids eat free.
That's right.
Ew.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
You like
That was
it?
awful. I'll go sit in the corner. No, I won't. But you know what? This kind of relates to what we talked about earlier with the internet privacy and censorship and that kind of stuff. Like, if it's out there, and people did their research. That's fine. But if it's not out there and it's more private stuff, then I don't think, you know. Because the stuff like the Allison Rapp leaks were actual stuff that she posted herself.
Oh, but
Nobody
wait, there was
went into
more.
her-
There was more to her story. I sort of got distracted. It turned out she also was working as an escort, but it was totally okay because she was totally feminist about her escort stuff because she was like a feminist escort.
Whereas
So
Zoe Quinn
if-
was just a whore.
Well, if the guys didn't pass muster, you know, respecting her for her strong feminist values, she wouldn't necessarily, I don't know, provide services for them. But I think Nintendo may have had some issues with some of her writing, but I think they may have really had issues with the fact that she was working as an escort.
Yeah.
I think they have a right to fire her, but of course there were people saying, "Oh, this is wrong. They shouldn't fire her." And then the same thing with the teacher. I mean, going back to the original thing, it just reminded me of the Allison Rapp thing. You know, is there really a problem with this woman having an OnlyFans? If I guess it's like a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it type of thing. I mean, if nobody found out, would anybody have really been harmed? Probably not. I mean, it's sort of like if the kids don't know about it, it doesn't create an awkward situation. Do I really care? But now that it's public and it's out there, it's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, I kind of sort of do care because Buttercup's a teacher
Yeah.
of children, and
Yeah.
Rapp was a spokesperson for a video game company that directly targets younger children.
Yeah.
And as I've said many a time, that's the only protected class I believe actually exists and should exist. So the separation from their employment is well and duly justified, and I would even propose legal investigations just to be sure that there was no malfeasance with the children.
Should 15-year-olds have access to OnlyFans? I mean, in terms of
yeah.
like the age verification, isn't it just having a credit card? I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like
No.
there's any real age verification
Was it
online.
one of
At
those
this point,
things?
all you need is a bank account. You don't even need a credit card.
Well, I mean, if you have, because you don't want to be the low budget person on here. It's like pff, this person used an e-check. No, but if you have like a debit,
you link the
but if you have a debit card with your bank account,
PayPal, let's say, PayPal doesn't really ask you it doesn't verify your age. You just say, yes, I'm 21.
yeah. Hey
But-
Timmy,
but
you're doing a good job.
The day that I
selling
found
papers.
that the 12-year-old that I used to nanny for at the time was 11 or 12, knew about Pornhub and OnlyFans, I was shocked. I didn't even know about Playboy until I was like 14, and even then I probably didn't even see one until I was 16. And that's a late bloomer.
Yeah.
Well, it's cold in Canada, so
We usually burn them for heat. Yeah.
Yeah, usually.
Mhm.
No time to look. Just burn them.
Yeah.
the
You
I was
just
gonna
have like a mittens monthly, just women wearing mittens and little
Ooh,
hats.
those are some good. Those are some good wrists showing.
Nice took that you're wearing there. Sorry, that's Wisconsin.
Two
Go ahead, Geodes.
took.
I,
I was wondering what he was saying.
God
That's a
damn.
Wisconsin. That's like a
say,
hat, that they wear in Wisconsin. Go ahead.
I was gonna say there's a story that actually I heard about earlier with a 45-year-old teacher who did a similar thing to this, except I think she actually did end up sleeping with like one of her 14-year-old students. But
Yep.
it's one of those things where it's just like, yeah, on one hand, this is kind of where I mean, it's one of those things where there a lot of people, I think, I've kind of started to realize this. A lot of people misunderstand kind of what libertarian really means, because there's the more libertine end of the libertarians group, and then there's the libertarian side that's more like we
More
don't
like Mises
care.
Marcus.
Well, yeah, where it's like we don't care unless you can really begin to impact like the development of like our kids, or like the next, or like to the point where it's like you begin to affect us directly and how we raise our children and all this other stuff and everything. And to me, this is where I think that the line is drawn, and this is where I'm like, yeah, once this stuff gets exposed, I'm like, yeah, they're out. they're
We see enough of that overlap where there actually was some malfeasance. That's why I said initially, like, we should even launch investigations onto some of these people, because you're working with kids and you're doing sex work, which tends to be more behind the scenes. So let's just be sure. Like, if you're working as a cashier at Sears, I don't think that Sears should fire you for having an OnlyFans. I don't think if you're pumping gas or, like any of these other things, like, you do you, more power to you. That's the libertarian in me. But once kids are somewhere in that Venn diagram and there's that overlap, I'm like, nope. That's where we got to draw that line. I agree with you 100%.
It would be I mean, honestly, I'd feel, and it's not even like cases like this. I mean, I don't want to deviate too much, but like it'd be the same thing if like I found out somebody was a furry and they worked at an animal shelter or something. I feel very uncomfortable.
Oh,
Man,
God.
you went there. You went there.
Yeah.
Scraps,
kill-
no.
Yeah.
Is it a
no,
kill
Scraps,
shelter?
no.
Is it a kill shelter, Geo?
Jesus Christ.
So
yeah, I went
let
there.
me make this slightly more
Believe me.
wholesome for a moment, please.
Sure.
I remember when I was working in the hospitality industry right after high school, just trying to earn some money for college, as one does. And in came this one table with 4 guys, and they were teachers from my junior high school. And one of them was like my science teacher from junior high school, who was like kind of a weird, idiosyncratic guy. And it was so strange running into these people who were teachers, but then you sort of find out they're like real people.
Yeah.
It's weird. Even as a young adult, it was strange for me to run into these people and interact with them in a different way than I'd been used to. Because I'd spent, a year sitting and listening to this guy make bad jokes about moles and molecules and things. But it was very strange. So I can only imagine, just take that weird feeling and extrapolate it about 1,000-fold when you find out your teacher's on OnlyFans.
Yep.
Because, you've got this one view of what this person is as an educator. And they have a duty of care to the students that they take care of. And then if it's really easy for them to find out that even if she's just doing stuff by herself, which I'm not really sure I'd say that she was necessarily doing porn. She might just be doing sort of adult nude modeling type of things. But this is just a semantic thing. I don't know what this woman's doing. It does seem a little odd to me. I'm not sure this works. If she was teaching at a junior college, how would you feel about it? Would it just be...
Well, what's junior college?
Junior college would be out of high school, typically over 18.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'd be fine
I
with
mean,
that. They're over 18.
yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's the
If
same thing, as
18
long
is
as she's
18 is the
not-
age of majority that we've set, then that's fine by me.
Yeah, and as long as she's not doing early childhood education, because
Yeah,
they
I
are
wouldn't
sometimes around kids.
I wouldn't mind about Allison Rapp being generally unpleasant online, and then people looking into her thing and finding out she's working as an escort. It's totally not my business. But like I said, if you're a spokesperson for a company, that's a little different than just being a general employee. Which is part of why I had trouble with people taking a knee, like all these football players and stuff, taking a knee and trying to bring their personal causes into stuff. I don't know about you, but when I go do stuff that's like work, I'm there to do a job, not there to sort of have weird opinions about stuff. So I think spokespeople get handled differently, but I think teachers are a whole special class above and beyond that. Anything that they do sort of in their personal life that might make it hard for them to do their job, unfortunately becomes kind of our business, because I would love to just take a libertarian view on this and say, I don't care. But I could see this becoming a problem.
Yep. Yeah, it I mean, it is a problem. That's my biggest concern would be, I mean, obviously I think that, getting fired from your job is honestly probably the most appropriate thing the schools can do, but it's one of those things where if it were come up to me, I'd be starting to look at passing legislation, at least on state levels, for, if you are found to be somebody in sex work, or if you are somebody who's known to be in sex work, you can't be in these positions. You just can't. So,
I remember
It's
second
there-
grade, the first person who I ever had like a crush on when I was a little kid was the TA in my second grade class. So maybe I'm just advanced from my age or something, and I don't know. But you have that kind of different, delicate sort of relationship built into that kind of thing. Students are just very impressionable, or at least I was. I still just sort of remember that. It's like, oh, yep, okay, Harry's straight, got that covered. Good. Sorry, Sora, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I was sort of course committed, and I had to keep going.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Sora?
It was in opposition to, or like in comment to your geodes there. Problem with that is, and I know it's one of those things, well, you entered it, so you should have thought about ratifications if you're going to do OnlyFans and then want to have a career later on. But it's one of those, it becomes a vicious cycle. At the end of the day, I would love people to get out of like, sex work and get into something else. Hopefully, something safer possibly, or whatever. But where would you draw the line? So if you put a law that says, okay, you can't be in any sort of work that deals with children, so teaching that's for with minors, or teaching adults about minors, or whatever it is that you're going to do, then it opens the floodgates to starting to bar them from a whole other aspect of life as well, other different areas of education, of works. So I don't know, that's very kind of tenuous thing, right?
If you had like some option where, at least if there were no active accounts, like if you'd closed down like your adult accounts or something, and prior to moving into education, but I don't know.
And I know what you mean. Like, on one hand, safety should be number one, but it's just that you start banning it in one area, it becomes banning. And then what's to say that these people can't then be put on a list, right? Like a sex offenders list kind of idea.
Yeah,
I have a much simpler
it feels
proposal.
Like it.
My simple proposal is, it's not like the job is yours, right? People go, oh, that's my job. It's not your job. Somebody's voluntarily giving you money to do a thing, right? So if you hire somebody to do their job, and because of some reasons that are external to their job performance, whatever that is, they can no longer do their job, right? It doesn't matter whether it's sex work or what it actually is, in my opinion. If they do something happens that makes them unable to do their job, you try to find desk work or something like that for them, and if no position exists that you can move them into that they can do, some scandal happens in their family or something, and it's a small community and they just can't get away from it, whatever the example is, then unfortunately you got to let them go because you can't pay somebody to do a job they can't do.
Yeah.
So if they're doing some OnlyFans thing and they don't get caught, I wouldn't necessarily, as an employer, go looking for it. For instance, I wouldn't put that in the contract and try to hold them to it. But it's like, if you can't do your job, we got to let you go. For me, it's just that simple.
Yeah, there's that. But there's also I know in Canadian federal law, and I know in parts of other Western laws, there's certain provisions that make a delineation in positions of trust, as far
Right.
as things like age of consent laws, and those kinds of things. So we already have some sort of precedence for that. And for the part where I'm saying, yeah, maybe we should have a look at this, that's sort of the avenue we can take. I fully am on board with your take on just the pure pragmatic business level. If there's none of that sort of involving of minors in some fashion, then yeah, just very pragmatic. If it's interfering with your work that I'm paying you to do, then it becomes an issue. Otherwise, don't care.
Yeah.
You're doing your job, great. That's what we pay you for.
Well, keep in mind that in Europe and in other countries, they have all sorts of rules where it's not at-will employment anymore, right? You have all sorts of rights as an employee, and the relationship between employer and employee is messy and complicated because the government's decided to step in and screw things up, or unions. So it may be one of those things where you have to go through and enumerate all the things that thou shalt not do, because it just is so hard to fire somebody that you don't want to essentially have to pay them for doing nothing. So it's not like the thing I'm proposing. The thing I'm proposing works in a libertarian paradise, but in the real world, it may be, yeah, we actually have to say, okay, you can't do all of the following things, and we've told you in advance, so don't come whining to us when we let you go.
Yeah, I mean, that makes more sense, honestly, as far as I don't know. It's one of those things where you can't have a perfect solution realistically. Like, you could try to legislate it out, or you can try to do more of a proposal where, like you said, if it begins to affect your work, you're out, But it's, I don't know. This is one again where I'm kind of like, I feel like, again, homeschooling in some cases could be advantageous. I'm not saying it'd be perfect, because you could have situations like this come up as well, but I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm just beginning to really question how effective it is with some of the way we have our systems structured as they are. So,
well, hell, what do I know? When it comes to stuff like this, I don't know. That's why I wanted to talk to you guys about it. It's like I don't really. A lot of times I'll talk about stuff because I'm happy to talk about stuff, but I don't necessarily have really strong opinions. So it's like, if all you guys want to do something like this, I'd be just like, yeah, whatever. That sounds good. Keep these people away from the kids. I'll go with whatever the consensus is on this one. I mean, there are things that I have strong opinions about, but I don't know, stuff like this, I just really don't. I really just don't want to be a part of it. It's like, just don't have an OnlyFans. Just teach the class, and don't make me have to have this conversation. Is kind of my feeling.
Yeah.
But the world isn't like that, and I get dragged into this kind of stuff because this is the kind of stuff we talk about. Anyway, we are done. We've gone through everything that there is to go through. Do you guys have anything else you want to bring up before we go?
A couple of funny things from Europe.
Please.
I don't know if you guys are following the whole Halifax bank thing happening in the UK, where someone on Twitter, they're putting now pronouns on the employee badges, and someone said something like, I focus on being a bank, don't tell me what to do about pronouns. And the person who tweets out for the bank told them, well, if you don't like it, then you can just take your money and go. and people have started to take their money and go.
Yeah.
And it's this huge PR blunder nightmare that's happening in the
That's
UK
at this
right now.
point,
Like,
they knew. They fucked up.
and so some guy named Andy M said that on Twitter, and now it's like people are like we're taking out hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of investments and savings, and
Yeah, don't
cutting
threaten
up
me with a
their
good time.
credit card, moving their mortgage to another financial institution, and it's
Mhm.
kind of
I
funny.
really have no sympathy for those businesses who just didn't listen. And by listen, I mean pay attention to even one of the talking heads from the silent majority, because most people aren't going to be talking about it. It's a tiny, 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 very, very, very vocal minority of people pushing these things. And the more companies are doing things to placate that or advertise or outright push for these movements, various things, there's an equal and opposite reaction that overtakes from the silent minority, the silent majority, when they push too far. You know, it's delicious. I have no sympathy for these assholes.
No, it's great. I mean, and then it's just like we're watching someone get fired in real time. Like, whoo! But the thing is that they'll be fine because they'll be like, I don't know. They'll say that, oh, my supervisor bullied me into saying that, or some bullshit thing, and
Yeah, well,
they'll get off fine. But
time for you to go get an OnlyFans job.
I was just following orders.
This is
it's
fine.
just a little bit of fun.
It is.
As
Well-
like a old institution burning down because of
A little bit of beautiful destruction. You know.
Well, there's
Yeah.
a burger chain down here you may not be familiar with. It was Wendy's. So Wendy's sells hamburgers, and
Joking?
you know,
We have Wendy's.
you have Wendy's up there. I thought you just had.
No,
Tim
Wendy's
Hortons.
even bought Tim Hortons.
Did they?
I thought.
Yeah.
Do we have
owns Tim
Wendy's or
Hortons.
do we have Wendy's? I don't know.
Wendy's.
Wendy's?
I've never had Wendy's.
But the thing about Wendy's is they actually hired somebody really good to run their social media account.
Yeah, they did.
So if you look at that social media account, it's a huge bonus for them. Now, Halifax Bank did not hire somebody good. They instead decided, hey, let's get the woke asshole from the CRT training and give them the keys to the public image machine.
It's so bad.
You
Like,
don't
they
put
could've
somebody in
stopped-
that position who's like that. It's just
No.
suicide.
And it's what's delicious is that you could see where they should have stopped. Though, so they started with like we believe in inclusivity here, hence why we put the name badges. Stop there. I'm
Mm-hmm.
highly misquoting it, but that's the idea. So it's like stop there. Perfect. That's your response. It says, you know, this is why we do it. End of story, and that's your only reaction. Move along. But then he had to finish that with take your ball and go home. Then you know.
Yeah. If you don't
And
like
it's
it,
just, mwah,
don't want your
mwah,
business.
Beautiful. I know.
Mm.
And it's like that. You're a bank.
Bye, Felicia.
yeah.
Don't do this.
Yeah, like what Harry was saying about the employees, the same thing goes for the corporations themselves, the businesses themselves. Do your fucking job, or I won't do business with you. I don't care about sports ballers who. I don't care about your political. I don't care about actors and actresses. Give me a good product.
Yeah. I'm
At the
just
end
here
of the
to
day, that's
cash
all
a
I care
check.
about.
I just want to cash a check. I don't want to be lectured to by Miss Thang over there.
I don't want to donate to Bottom Surgeries America or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good times that we live in. Okay, so you said you had two things. What was the other one, Sora?
Oh, I'm not sure if you talked about this on Tuesday or if the other hosts discussed this, but starting in May of 2023, if anybody wants to go to Europe, or well, the EU and Schengen countries, we're going to have to register. So we will need to have a pseudo visa. It costs around $10 Canadian, so whatever, it's €7. And
Like a nickel American.
yeah, it'll just where it's Canada, US, Australia, plus a shit ton of, I'm very sorry, like kind of third world countries are all on this list that may grow but when I saw it, I felt so freaking offended. Like, go screw yourself, Canada's on this list. The reason for it is it's one way to monitor their borders due to the migrant crisis. It's a way of pre-screening. So basically, it's going to be a 10-minute thing. You're going to give all your personal information that they probably have already, and the computer either says yes or no, and then you'll be approved for 3 years. So you can go in and
Wow.
out. Yeah,
That's what we need is
that's interesting.
more bureaucracy when it comes to travel. That sounds
It's
great.
going to make, especially after these couple of years, it's going to make it even more difficult. I'm like, okay, thanks for punishing me for your mistake of
Yes.
allowing open borders. So go
Cancel
fuck
all the
yourself.
flights. Greta is pleased.
And it's annoying because, you know, I have family overseas, so I'm going to be doing this. It shouldn't be bad. It shouldn't be like hard or bad to do it, but it's one of those things. It's like, oh, if something goes wrong and we have to manually approve you, then there's going to be issues. So it's
Wow.
it's just another way of having eyes on you, following you. Mind
Damn.
you, I've had education visas before, so everyone has my biometrics. I'm tracked already.
That's the
But
spirit.
still.
Tagged and tracked and
I've given
monitored.
up.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, they've got them. So, but yeah, I thought that's a little bit of interesting for anyone who's planning on traveling the next year. Keep an eye on that, because if you are going overseas, you're going to have to apply for that before you can leave the country, and before you can
Alrighty.
enter. It doesn't matter, even if you're stopover, if you're entering that country, like a country in the EU, you're going to have it, even if you're going to multiple other countries that are not in the EU.
So post Brexit, do you have to do this to go to the UK?
No, but the UKs have to do it. I don't. Well, they don't. It's because the UK is not part of it. The UK people will have to do it to enter continental Europe.
All right. Well, that was fun. Oh God, more bureaucracy. Gotta love it.
Yay!
Anyway, I think we're done.
Cool.
Yep.
Nothing else. All
I
right.
think so.
Zoo's
Wish
closed.
I were an
Everybody,
Oscar Mayer wiener.
say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
My body,
Bye.
my choice. You can't tell me what.